this whole episode, basically, I'm really going to give you a massive invitation to look more closely at your life and to see what's not working for you, because this is the phase of your cycle when your whole life comes under the microscope or out in the wash for review. And it's your body's way of inviting you to look really closely and to not ignore what's going on underneath, because that can just make it worse. But what's going on is a whole spectrum of things that's inviting you into a death and rebirth phase of your cycle, if you can hear that call. Welcome to Wild Flow, the podcast with me, your host, Charlotte Pointeau. I'm a wild feminine cycle coach here for the awakened woman who is ready to reclaim her body, menstrual cycle and feminine power, and to live, love and lead in flow with nature's wisdom. In this podcast, I'll share how you can live in sync with your menstrual cycle and life seasons, heal your relationship with your womb and rites of passages, and embody your wild feminine as a multi-passionate woman in life, mothering and business. It's your time to flourish as a cyclical being in this modern world. Are you ready? Let's flow. Just a little note from me ahead of this episode. It has not stopped raining in New South Wales for what feels like weeks and weeks and weeks. And today, when I recorded this podcast, you can really hear the rain on my roof. So that's what that noise is that comes and goes. We've got epic rain clouds. I hope it doesn't bother you too much. It's all nature. It's just all around us. Can't avoid it. It is what it is. And I hope that it doesn't bother you. Enjoy the episode. Hey lovelies, and welcome to Wild Flow with me, the last episode before we wrap up the season 1. Thank you so much for being here. I can't believe that we are at the end of the season and I'm feeling really good and really ready to celebrate and wrap up what's been a really beautiful few months for me, just finding my voice, finding my way with this podcast. And today I want to wrap up a little mini series that I've been doing, scattered here and there amongst the episodes, as we deep dive into each of the 4 phases of the menstrual cycle. And today is all about the inner autumn, the luteal phase of the cycle. So quick check-in. I'm late spring coming into summer. I actually don't know what day I'm on off the top of my head. No, can't think. Probably somewhere about 2 weeks into my cycle. Don't know. I haven't had a look, but just been noticing a bit of cervical fluid over the last couple of days that's more wet and more fertile. A little bit more energy. But it's been a big week for me. I've had my birthday and I had a big loss. I lost my nana, who was very, very special woman in my life. So it's been a week of grief and sadness and slowness and tuning out from the world quite a lot and coming back to be with myself and my family. So my energy definitely hasn't been like a big spring. It's felt much more subdued, and I'm sure that's a part of it. So here's to my Nana Norma anyway. So anyway, let's move into this episode. So we've been through, if you tune back into previous episodes, we've done one on sacred menstruation, which was about the bleed, the first phase of the cycle. We've done one on honoring the maiden, which was all about the inner spring, the second phase. We've done one on summer loving and flourishing at ovulation, which was all about the middle of the cycle and ovulation. And now we are into the depths of letting go and releasing and the premenstrual phase of the inner autumn of the cycle. So this is it depends which way you look at it. So this second half of the cycle is is called the luteal phase, and that actually takes you from ovulation all the way up to your bleed. So if you're looking at the cycle as two halves, this is the second half of the cycle called the luteal phase. And if you heard the previous episode with Nat Martin, you'll hear her refer to it as the via negativa. If you split the cycle into 4, then the inner autumn is the last phase, the 4th phase of the cycle. It's the inner autumn phase. So it's that very last week, which can start. It's when you energetically feel that shift after ovulation. It might be straight away. It might be, a number of days after ovulation when you feel your energy dip, and it might go until a few days before your bleed or a few hours before your bleed. So it's very much open to you to interpret when you sense that you're in your inner autumn. And me personally, I haven't got, because my cycle's not consistent in cycle length at the minute, I can't go, well, I know that on day 14 as I'm ovulating, and on day 16 I feel like I'm turning into my inner autumn, and that lasts until day 27 because on day 28 I bleed. Like, no, that's not how it is for me. So for me, it's a case of being fully present and just tuning in every day. Like, what energy am I feeling today? And you can have a day where you feel like you've got lower energy, and you might think you're starting your inner autumn, and then the next day you might feel you've got more energy again. So, there's no hard and fast rules. I think the whole point of cycle awareness is the gift of sovereignty and the gift of self-awareness. It's not about learning something and then having to get it perfect and get it right. It's like, what does it mean to you? How does it feel? What's true for you? So I just want to throw that little caveat in there. This premenstrual phase, what happens in the body? So at ovulation, if the egg is not fertilized in conception, so if there's going to be no pregnancy, then the egg morphs into what's called the corpus luteum, which is that yellow body. And basically, it starts to pump out heaps of progesterone, which is a hormone that literally means progestation. So its purpose is to support a pregnancy, if there's going to be one. But when that doesn't happen, then the egg, this corpus luteum, it slowly starts to disintegrate, and it gets sort of reabsorbed into the body, and then it's released with the bleed. So in this phase, progesterone is the hormone that takes over. It rises quite steadily, quite nicely. If everything's all in balance, it can rise so nicely that it starts to bring like cozy, slow, chill feelings. Like you're slowing down, like, you're kind of like floating on cloud 9, like life is good. But for others, if the hormone level isn't high enough, or if there's other things going on, then you might not get that feeling, and PMS can strike, which I'm sure you've heard of and all about. But really, what's going on is that the body is starting to pack down and prepare for the bleed. So for people, when PMS strikes, PMS is actually like a cluster of sensations, and, for want of a better word, symptoms, just things that are going on for you emotionally, mentally, physically, and spiritually. And collectively, this is what's called premenstrual syndrome, and it can feel really, really challenging. And this is the time of the cycle when it can really, really strike. It can include experiences like having inner critic, so the critical thoughts, self-doubt, anger, rage, frustration, grief, disappointment, and physical symptoms like sore boobs, bloating, weight gain, acne, headaches, depression, and anxiety. So it might you might experience some of that. You might experience all of it. You might experience none of it. But it's also different. I just want to say there's something else called PMDD, which is premenstrual dysphoric disorder. And that's different. So that's when the moods are incredibly intense and it affects your day-to-day ability to live. So it can cause severe irritability, depression, or anxiety in the week or two before your period starts. Symptoms usually do go away 2 or 3 days after your period starts or about that time. But if this is something that you experience, then I really invite you to notice the difference and, seek support. And that might mean getting some medicine or other treatments to help with your symptoms and looking at what the underlying causes are of that. That's a topic for another day, so I'm not going to go into it. And, not everyone experiences PMS. However, a lot of women and also a lot of people who don't have cycles like men and culturally really associate this premenstrual phase as being a really shit emotional time. And, things like, is it that time of the month again? It gets thrown around and it gets, weaponized against us when, we're experiencing some pretty big feelings and there's some big things going on. Yes, it can be kind of shit. But also, this whole episode, basically, I'm really going to give you a massive invitation to look more closely at your life and to see what's not working for you, because this is the phase of your cycle when your whole life comes under the microscope or out in the wash for review. And it's your body's way of inviting you to look really closely and to not ignore what's going on underneath. Because this is that can just make it worse. So many women can get full on rage, for example, at this time of their cycle and feel really, really terrible about it. But what's going on is a whole spectrum of things that's inviting you into a death and rebirth phase of your cycle, if you can hear that call. The inner autumn is so called because energy is waning and slowing. And this is coined by the Wild Power authors from Red School, working with the seasons. So if you think about autumn, it's getting darker outside. Nature, natural growing things are starting to decay. It's a time of leaves being dropped and turning brown and disintegrating. It's composting time. All the leaf litter on the floor returning nutrients back to the soil. Nature's preparing to die. It's preparing for the rebirth that comes in the next season. And our body's just doing the very same. We are nature, and it's so easy to forget that. Every single month, our body has prepared just in case there's a pregnancy. And so every single month, our body carefully packs away that nest, that womb lining in our body. From the women that I work with, I see PMS manifesting as big emotions, distress, and pleasant symptoms. I believe that it's because this happens when we're disconnected from our true nature, who we really are, our feelings and our needs, and our body is just not able to handle the pain of that disconnection anymore. So these are some of the ways that I see it really showing up. So the first one is all about productivity and worthiness. So, going back to what I've said before about our culture being a hustle culture, a capitalist, patriarchal culture that values productivity and output, and that, our worth is reflected by how hard we work in that meritocratic culture. So that's not true, right? That's actually not true. And so what can happen as being a cyclic person is that when we move into this second half of the cycle, this luteal phase, and into the inner autumn premenstrual phase, is our body starts to take its foot off the gas, whether we want it to or not. Like, our hormones change and our energy slows, and we just can't sustain the pace that we might have been able to a few days or a week or two beforehand. And this can feel really, really, really difficult if you are somebody who really has tied your worth and your success to your output. So if you value output, if you really struggle to let go, chances are that you might struggle here with frustration and have a fear of not being able to keep up or not being valued or appreciated. And especially this can be the case if your role, if your job, brings in money that your family needs. So, if you're worrying about how can you possibly slow down, that can bring up some real fears. If you work in a male-dominated industry as well, then your cycle is not going to be part of the mainstream conversation around the water cooler. Like, oh, hey, I'm just moving into my inner autumn phase and I might not be as productive in the next couple of weeks, but I'm going to channel that energy into really useful, productive ways. I just might not be quite as on fire as you're used to. Like, that doesn't happen, right? So feeling like we can't be our full self, feeling like we can't possibly take our foot off the pedal can feel really alarming, can bring up frustration and fear. So that's one way. Just check in. How do you feel about your productivity versus your ability to rest? Lack of support. Do you fear that when your energy fades and you aren't on the go as much, that there's nobody there to support you? This might be a thing if you're single or if you're, working and you've got, caring responsibilities as well. If you're doing all the things for all the people, then it can be anxiety inducing if you are anticipating that you're going to have to keep your foot on the gas the whole cycle around, and if you can't take a rest because there's nobody there to catch you in that lower time of your cycle, if you're just going to have to keep pushing through, does this bring up a feeling of you having to do it all, there being nobody there to support you, you feeling alone, and, really, really the tenderness that can come with that, as well as the fear? The third one is boundaries. Do you know what you need? And do you know how to express your needs? And when you do, are your needs and desires respected? Do people cross your boundaries? Do you cross your own boundaries? Boundaries is a big thing in this inner autumn phase, because before you might have had a bit of resilience or a bit more energy or a bit more willingness or ability to just overlook if somebody crosses your boundaries. But now in this phase, with the change in hormones and the change in your energy, you are much less likely to put up with somebody crossing your boundaries. And, that even might be yourself. Like, how are you not honoring yourself? Is this something that comes up for you? And does that fuel that fire of emotion within you at this time? Really looking at your boundaries, and this might be something present. It might be something from the past that comes up as well at this time. Slightly connected is the fact that this can also bring up some wounding around your menarche, so your first period, yourself in your maiden years, and mother wounding as well. So you might, I've talked before about how this is really linked to the spring phase of your cycle. But if you think of like the spring, like that pre-ovulation phase as being the maiden, if you think about it, then we've got mother, which is summer. Then this is the next season on from there. So it's like the grandmother of the maiden. And it can really be associated here with how you were raised to feel about yourself in this maiden phase of your life and how you feel about your cyclic nature, because it's the other end of that. So if your spring phase is all about how you are welcomed and initiated, this is about how acceptable you feel like your cycle is to be visible and seen and acknowledged by other people. Our culture really values that youthful vibrance of the first half of the cycle, which is the spring and summer. And now, as our energy changes, coming back to, worthiness and, what's seen as acceptable by our culture. It can bring up for you, how you feel about your cyclic nature, how you feel about how you were supported in those years. And it can bring up mother wounding associated with that as well. Depending on how you feel about your ability to express the fact that you're in your premenstrual phase, and how you feel about your boundaries, and how you feel about being able to ask for what you need and to really embody this change in your cycle. So I find that there's a link. If there are menarche kind of wounds, or if somebody wasn't received or supported or celebrated at the time of their menarche, then not only can there be tenderness in the spring phase, but it can also come out as PMS in this phase. And the fifth area that I've written down is about grief. So grief, this could be associated with fertility or infertility, also about endings, and also about painful periods to be anticipated. So if fertility has been a real struggle for you, if there's been a loss, then this is the 2-week wait, right? And it can bring up feelings of hopelessness, tension, disappointment, real tenderness. It can bring up a lot of grief depending on your experience of that. And this is when that's really likely to kick in, then and around the time of the bleed as well. Endings. So this is the ending moment. This is the end of the premenstrual phase is like that death. Just before like the bleed is like the rebirth. So how do you feel about endings? Are you somebody who's always struggled with endings? Do you struggle to say goodbye and to let go? If that's been a bit of a challenge for you, this can bring up feelings as well. And if you're somebody who experiences painful periods for whatever reason, then knowing that that's coming can cause some anxiety and fear. Knowing that it's coming, like needing to support yourself to welcome that and to prepare for that and be okay with that. It can be quite difficult as well. So there's a whole lot of stuff in there. It's like a big time to really have a look at what's going on in your life and to dig a bit deeper to see what's causing it. It's not something that can be fixed with the pill that's just masking symptoms or other hormonal treatments. Although, some like looking at hormonal support, so diet, reducing inflammation, those kinds of things, looking after your energy can be really, really helpful to support your hormonal health and to increase progesterone, for example, and the quality of that and the influence of that in your body. But also there's so much you can do on these other levels of, emotional, mental, and spiritual to reframe this part of your cycle so that it's a time when you feel better, you feel like you're able to surrender into this waning energy and this ending phase. So I would love to share some of these ideas that I think are really, really helpful. So this phase, you can direct all of that energy into tying up, reflecting, analyzing, and evaluating. So just as nature lets go and composts for the new year ahead, this is a great time to think about tying up projects and work and just starting to tie things up in a nice bow so that you can go away and have a bit of spaciousness in your head, perhaps use some of your energy to rest a little bit or to just have that dream time over your bleed. So it's a time for ending projects. It's definitely not the time to begin anything new. I find that beginnings in this time can have the energy of scarcity and fear around them, and they haven't had time to really like gestate and be prepared for and planned, and new beginnings should come with that rising confidence and resilience and creative energy. This is definitely not the energy for that. So if you have ideas at this time, then I really suggest that you pop them on a bit of paper and pop them into your creative cauldron that I've talked about. Keep hold of those pieces through your bleed, and as you finish up your next bleed, go back to the ideas that you had and pick which ones you think are a good idea for that cycle ahead. You can also use that energy to prepare for your bleed, prepare for that downtime. That might mean looking at your schedule and trying to build in pockets of breathing space, or, actual rest or time away if you can. But, absolutely even just a little bit of extra time before you jump into your morning tasks, a bit of a breather at lunchtime, maybe finishing a little bit earlier, or just choosing tasks that are a little bit more inwards and you don't have to be around other people at that time can be helpful. It might be prepping for meals. It might be prepping support. It might be preparing your relationship to go through that phase. It might be getting in products, cleaning your period pants or your moon cup, or getting in the teas and the chocolates that you love, and just stocking up on whatever it is you need to transition into your bleed time. It's also a fabulous time to make powerful decisions. So the energy of this time is all about truth and discernment. And she has a really fierce boundary and a truth that you can tune into, to make decisions about what's working for you, what's not working for you, and to think about your intentions for how you want to journey through your next cycle, in a way that honors you and your needs better. It can also be about just tuning into what's a yes, like a holy hell yes in your body, and what's a fuck no in your body as well. So we become much more sensitive at this time, and we could become much more embodied, and we can do, not everyone is, but the potential is absolutely there to help us to really make these decisions. It's the energy of the wild woman, and this is an archetype, a female archetype that really represents the woman postmenopausal who's got no fucks left to give. And you can tune into that now. So she's ovulated, she's on the descent, she's coming back home to herself. It's all about her much more now. She's boundaried and she's unafraid of her power. Her truth is her power. She's magical and mystical, and it really reminds me of a phoenix, in that she brings that fire that's needed to slash and burn and return the energy to the earth. So again, back to that composting idea, to prepare the soils for new growth. So it's the fire of transformation. She burns away what is not working and what's not needed, leaving just the nutrition, the goodness, just what's needed, the wisdom for next time. And if you haven't heard the episode with Claire Baker that was on embodying the enchantress archetype, then I strongly suggest that you go and listen to that, because the enchantress is another version of the wild woman archetype. And if you're somebody, particularly if you own your own business, but if you're creative, but just if you're somebody who wants to look at ways of reframing and embodying this premenstrual energy a little bit more, then that could be a really good episode to go and listen to as well. And last episode, I had Nat Martin as a guest, and she describes the energy, the archetype of this phase of the cycle as the keeper. And she describes the keeper as being somebody who, without being wild and powerful in that kind of outward, energetic kind of potentially destructive way, Nat sees the keeper as this really grounded, calm, wise truth holder who is really powerful because she sees clearly, she's grounded, she's deeply embodied. And she was saying that, she's the keeper of the truth, but also the keeper of the space. And Nat was really talking about needing space, using space at this time. So I really recommend going back and listening to that episode as well. And also another way of looking at this phase is by calling it the take phase. And Lucy Peach wrote a book. It's called Period Queen. I was just glancing around at my bookshelf because I forgot what it was called. It's called Period Queen, and Lucy calls this the take phase. So it's the season of taking after the season of giving. So the mother phase, the summer phase is all about giving. This season is all about taking, ramping up self-care and tending to your inner world. So what do you need? How can you give it to yourself? Like really coming home to yourself. And this can be such a challenge, but a little bit of practice as you go is so powerful for coming back to your truth, your needs, your power, and honoring yourself. I love that she calls it the take phase. And something else I just wanted to share is that for some people, this represents the element of air. And I love this description because I hadn't really thought of it as being associated with air. But I've heard it described as, the air energy and the winds of change. I think that's really profound and it's really stayed with me. So the element of air is about, expansion, and it's about rapid change and it being inwards and outwards and all around, and having that full permission to just change your mind and change direction and be soft and forceful and big and small, and that real kind of, it can be a gentle, soothing breeze, but it can also absolutely clear the decks. And I think that's a really cool way of thinking about it as well. So lots of ways there to start to think about different ways of reframing this phase to help you to get, find the power in it, find the magic and the wisdom in it, especially if this is a time when you really struggle. I really invite you to think about how you can surrender. How can you let go? How can you be like the leaves? How can you drop your leaves? What are you letting go of? What's not working for you? And how do you want to do things differently next time? So if you've got any questions, if you want to share with me, if you're looking for any support whatsoever, I'd love you to drop into my DMs on Instagram, and I'm at charlotte.puanto.coach. I'd love to hear what your inner autumn is like and what you do at this time, how you support yourself, what your challenges are, what you love about it as well. And if you would like some support to feel better in this phase, reach out, because I'm a cycle coach. I work with women who experience, quite a range of different inner autumn experiences, from people who actually really love it and really feel grounded and powerful at this time, and we work together to really harness that and embody that, as well as people who really struggle, and how we can support and nurture and tend to this part of the cycle as being part of the whole cycle, and how all of the other parts of the cycle really feed into this phase. Like this is the what's that expression? Something about a bird in a coal mine, something like that, where everything leads up to this point, and you might not see or sense anything particularly beforehand, but this is the point when it's like it all comes out, like you can't hide from it anymore. So if you would like some support, come and reach out to me, and you can also find our free Facebook group, which is the Wild Flow Circle community, where I'm sharing tips and support and cycle check-ins and learning, and a beautiful connection and community space for women who are on this journey of connecting to their cyclic nature and honoring that in themselves. So this brings us to the end of the year. the end of season 1. Can you believe it? I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for tuning in. I've absolutely been blown away by the feedback that I've received from this podcast. I've gone from somebody who absolutely hated the sound of my voice and was terrified to speak in case I might say something wrong or might sound like an idiot, or somebody might go, I don't know, just all of these old fears that I think I'd been holding on to for so long. And I can't tell you how powerfully healing it has been as an experience to record this podcast. It's been such a passion project. It's something that I just really enjoy doing so much. And thank you so much to everybody who's listened and liked and left reviews and shared with other people. And thank you so much to my incredible guests. It's just been such a joy. I'm so honored and grateful. Thank you. I wish you the most wonderful festive season, a beautiful new year, and season 2 will be coming to you early in the new year. So it's going to be Feb before this comes back. But don't worry, because in between I've got some bonus episodes where I've been guests on other people's podcasts, and I've got an extra special juicy bonus episode to share with you at some point too. So I don't know when I'll drop them, but there'll be little bundles just in the off season. So much love. Thank you so much, and join us next time next year on Wild Flow for season 2. Mwah! Thank you so much for listening in. If you're loving this podcast and you'd love to help me spread the wisdom shared, please leave a review or rating, or share this with somebody who you think would love to listen in. I'm really passionate about creating ripples of change and getting this information to more women, girls, and people with a cycle so that they can reclaim their cyclic natures too. And if you'd love to dive in deeper with learning more about how to connect with your cycle and rites of passages, come and join our free Wild Flow Circle community, or choose a course and learn with me on my online learning hub. All the links are in the show notes. And until next time, be well and go with the flow of your cyclic nature.